Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Daphne Lage here. Join Nita Lanning and me on the Ragin' 2 the Vlogs show, where we talk about everything, nothing, and all the bits in between. Looking for hour-long conversations about indie comics, social media marketing, and crowdfunding, with the occasional rant and story time? Head on over to the Ragin' 2 channel on YouTube, Mondays through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern to join in the chat.
Hit the button.
The original intention of the film was just for my personal use, but I thought with it being such a unique thing that I'd like to offer it to anybody who wants to see it. On the first visit, Jack took us into his another room, separate room, and there were these brown parcels full of artwork piled up, and he said to me, "You draw like I do." We were in the studio for 5 hours, you know, it was fantastic, and there's this, he's got this desk, and everything he's ever drawn has come from this desk, and then I would just go with the flow, and that's what this film is about. It's just a unique film of him.
He says, "I beat you." He says, "They say we came in under the dead heat." He says, "That's not true because I beat you." And the American said, "Well," he says, "if you like to think so," he says, "but I know the real story." He says, I know I clearly won that one." See? Well, Joe is 6'3", and I was a run, see, from the Lower East Side. And being Joe's partner was an advantage to me because Joe was believable, you know, they would talk to Joe, and the Goodman brothers would get to know him. Martin Goodman owned Marvel at that time. He went to his mother and he says, "Look, Jackie got a job drawing." He says, "They're paying him for it, they're paying him money for drawing." He says, "Suppose I go with Jackie." He says, "And he says, they'll pay me money." He says, "I'll draw and they'll pay me money." He said, "I'll give the money to you," which we did. We gave it all to our mothers. They called me from Nassau. You know, I lived in Long Island. And they say, "Would you like to come down and draw these guys in training?" I swear, this is not a story. And I said, "Yes, of course, I'd love to come down." And
And good afternoon, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com. And this is a special episode of our podcast. I don't know. I almost said progcast. Turned it into a 2000 AD issue, I think. Anyway, we're coming at you in the afternoon here in the US, in the evening in the UK. So we're covering both bases today. We have with us somebody who has had the opportunity to sit down with a legend at length and sort of pick their brain, shadow them for a while they did their thing. That's, it's way more than you or I get to do when we just go to a convention, get to shake hands with somebody whose artwork we admire, and maybe walk away with a sketch. Glenn B. Fleming spent time with Jack Kirby. He has turned that experience into a book and into a DVD film of home movies. So we're going to talk with him and find out what went on, how that came about, and how you can get the copy of it for yourself. Here's a hint. You can check the Indiegogo link right below the video and throw some money at this thing. Glenn, how are you doing today, sir?
How are you doing, RJ? Thanks for having me on. I'm doing good. How are you?
I've wanted to have you on forever, man, but it just never lined up.
Well, I've always been here.
Several months back, we had the LCS guys show, but it's Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern here, which would have been 1 a.m. for you, where we had the 100th birthday for Jack.
Right. Well, that was back in 2017, wasn't it? The 100th birthday.
Was it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just his birthday period, not his 100th one.
Yeah, it must have been, yeah.
So
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you got to spend time with Jack here, but I'm just curious how that came about. I mean, did you just call him up and say, "Hey, I'm a fan. Can I come over?" I mean,
well, it's a little sort of, yeah. What happened was I went on holiday to Barbados and met these American couple who were getting married. Ended up being best man for them. Right? I'd only known them 2 days. Anyway, yeah, we just hit it off, and they were from California, from Anaheim, and I just mentioned what had happened was that I'd sort of left comics in the early 70s when I grew up. Right, I was 17, I grew up. And I left comics behind. I went to art college, and then I started working in graphics and all my career and doing things like doing illustrations and making films and all that kind of thing. And I'd sort of left comics behind for 10 years. And then in the mid 80s, I started my own line with the what is known as the black and white comic glut of the mid 80s, and produced these comics and put them out. Not too much success, but I did that. But then I went on holiday to Barbados, and I'd read I think it was in the Comics Journal that Jack Kirby was coming over a couple of years before I went to Barbados. I'd read that Jack Kirby was coming over to England, so I thought, I've got to a convention in London. So I thought, I've got to get down and see him. Got to shake his hand. Anyway, then it turned out that he decided not to come over, so I sort of forgot about it. Went on holiday to Barbados, met these Americans, got talking to them. And I remembered that in the, I think it was in the New Gods, he gave you his address at this place called Thousand Oaks. He gave you the address to write some fan mail. And I think Steve Sherman took care of the fan mail. And I just remembered this Thousand Oaks. I didn't remember the address, but I remembered Thousand Oaks because I thought, wow, are there 1,000 oaks there? Well, I presume there are. And I just mentioned this to these guys, these American guys. I said, "Oh, but where do you live?" And they said, "Anaheim." Now I know Anaheim is to the east of Los Angeles, but I didn't know where Thousand Oaks was. And I said, "Do you live near a place called Thousand Oaks?" And they said, "Yeah, it's about an hour away." So they asked me why, and I told them. They didn't know who Jack Kirby was, and I just told them that he created the Avengers and Iron Man and Fantastic Four and all that, and co-created Captain America and all this kind of stuff. They weren't very impressed. They knew what comic books were, but it turns out that Bob, the guy, never read a comic book from cover to cover, even when he was a kid. Oh, and wow. He said this to Jack later, and Jack couldn't believe it. But anyway, and I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it now. But anyway, what happened was that we were really friendly with these people, really hit it off. But you must have done this yourself. You go on holiday and you meet people, and you get on with them really well, and you're going to email them, you're going to meet up, and you never do. You never hear from them again. You don't contact them. They don't contact you. Anyway, I was the best man for them. And then they left after a couple of days. And I thought that'd be it. And but when I got back home, there was a letter. I had another 2 weeks there. There was a letter waiting for me, and it was from Suzanne, the girl, and she said, "Blah blah, nice to meet you." Blah 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 blah. And Jack Kirby says, "Hello. Here's his phone number."
Oh, she went and sought him out.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. So I was with my then partner. I used to come home from work and read this letter. And every day for 3 weeks, I would come home and read this letter. And in those days, the late 80s, transatlantic calls were very, very expensive.
Yes.
So I didn't ring it. So she said to me, "Are you reading that letter again?" Look, she said, just go and ring the number. And if it's not, then put the phone down. Simple as that. So I did. And this lady answered the phone, and I told her who I was, or explained who I was. And I said, "Are you the wife of the comic artist?" And she said, "Yeah, I'll put him on." So she just handed the phone to Jack, and so I was suddenly talking to Jack Kirby, my childhood hero artist, Anyway, so I told him that this would be about November 88 87 after I came back from Barbados in the October. And I told him that we were going out to meet these American people that we'd met, blah, blah. I told him, could I come and see him? And he said, "Yeah, of course you can." And that's what I did. So when we got there, Bob took us up to Thousand Oaks. And I remember when we got there, we got out the car, and Bob said, that he and Suzanne would just drive around for an hour and come back and pick us up. And I thought, unless the Kirbys kick me out of this house, there's no way I'm just being here for an hour. I'm not coming all this way to meet this person for an hour unless they want me to go. So when we knocked on the door, I said hello to Jack. He was there, this guy, I couldn't believe it. And then Roz came, and Roz came out and she said, "Oh, we're having some lunch." And Bob and Suzanne said, "Oh, we'll see you later." And she said, No, for all of you. So we all went in and had lunch. And I couldn't speak for about 30 minutes. And Jack kept asking me who I was and what my name was. He said, "Why are you here?" And I couldn't speak, because I was just in awe, And it went on from there. Then we went through to the studio, and, it was amazing.
That, looking at that from the perspective of 2020s, the fact that, hey, some strangers are going to come to our house, let's make lunch and talk to them.
That's exactly right. Yeah. This crazy guy's going to spending all this money coming up 6,000 miles to California just to meet them, and was there all day. I was there for about 5 or 6 hours.
Now, were you filming during this visit, or?
No. What happened was on the first visit, I had a camcorder, and it was, I can't remember whose it was now, but it was I think it must have been the first one ever made. It failed.
Oh.
It failed. But what I did was I asked Bob if he would take his camcorder, because he filmed everything. He filmed when he went to the bathroom. He just filmed everything. So I thought, this is the kind of guy I want. I said, "Will you take your camcorder?" And he said, "No." He said, "No, I'm not doing that." And I thought, why not? Do you understand what I mean? Anyway, so I managed to get one. I got one, and it did. So I asked Bob if he would film with this one, and he said, "Yeah." But it kept failing, but it kept coming on. And there's a bit where I've got some film, and you can hear him talking, saying it's not working. So he just holds it down by the side of his leg, and he films his foot for about 10 minutes. So he could have, because he thought it wasn't working. Anyway, I said to Jack after the first visit, I said, "I want to come and see you again." And he said, "You will." And I went back 3 years later, and I took a real camcorder that worked, and that's what the film is. It's from the second visit. Although on the DVD there is about 4 or 5 minutes, but there's no audio of the first visit when we're sitting around the pool. So there's video from both trips, but there's about 45 photographs from both visits as well. in the book.
So at what point did you decide that, because this was on camcorder, this was on tape.
Yeah.
This was going to degrade
Yes.
rather quickly by this time.
Yeah.
When did you decide that your digital copy, that a lot of people are making digitals of their videos, that you were going to say let's make a commercial version of this?
Right. Well, what I did was, obviously this is 1991, and then Jack died in 94, and when I got back in 91, I watched it, played it back, and I played it back a couple of times. But then the I don't know whether you know what the old tape looks like. It's like a cartridge, a cassette,
yeah.
and the wheel stuck, so it wouldn't play. It would only play to a set for 5 minutes. It wouldn't work. So I thought, oh, that's the end of that. But as you can see behind me, I never throw anything away, because I thought, well, I'll be able to fix this at some point. If I throw it away, I can't. If I have it, I might. So that was 1991. Then in 1998, I came across the Jack Kirby collector. I told them the story. I wrote the story up for them. They wanted it in. I sent them. I mean, this is crazy. I didn't have the negatives of the photographs, so I sent the photographs through the post. The actual. If they'd have got lost, that would have been it.
Yeah.
And I sent them the cassette, and I said, this cassette only plays for a few minutes. If you can fix it, you can have it. You can give it the Kirby family. But they wrote back and sent it back and said, we don't want it. I guess they couldn't be bothered spending $50 fixing it. So I thought, okay, they sent me photographs back and everything. The article was published. And then, so that was 1998. And then when it was coming up to 2017, 20 years later, Jack's 100th birthday and all that kind of thing, I was sort of half reading comics again, but still doing illustration and graphics work and advertising work for a job. And I thought I had a bit of money, and I thought I'll get it fixed. So I sent it off to a professional restorer, and they made it into a digital copy for me, so I could use it. And then I thought, well, I've done that. I paid the money for that. I might as well see whether I can let people see it. So I produced a DVD back in 2017, which is edited. The Kirby family wanted me to take certain things out, which I did, and they're still out. Nothing that Jack said. Jack never said a bad word about anybody. It had nothing to do with that. It was to do with artwork. So I took that out, and then it was his 100th birthday. So what I did was I released the DVD in August 2017, and I invited an audience to a local theatre of about 40 people from all over the country, all over the UK, and showed it on the big screen.
Oh, wow.
And then released it. Now this release, that was just the film. This release has extra pieces on it because there was a Q&A held at the theatre. That was filmed. Nobody's ever seen that. So I put that and tagged that on the end of this. And I also re-edited it. The stuff the Kirby family wanted out is still out. They will always remain out. If anybody's listening, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not here to, diss anybody. That's not the intention. Jack didn't say anything bad anyway. I'll say that again, just if anybody's listening to this, there's nothing bad on it. It's just him talking to me about his life. He doesn't really talk a lot about comics. He talks mainly about his life, which I find more fascinating because we know what he did in the comics because we've all got them and seen them. And so I decided to put it out again and do the Indiegogo with it, and it's been very successful. And then before I did that, I thought, you see, not everything that was said is obviously on the tape because the tape only lasts for about an hour. But I made extensive notes at the time, and I've got a good memory, so I wrote them up into a book, which is this book.
There we go.
And so you get the book, which is like an extra long version of the film, if you understand, because of the describing all going to Barbados and all that isn't on the film, and then describing how I got to Jack's house a second time and all the kind of thing that was going on. And then I've also put the transcript of the film in the book, and then put the transcript of the Q&A in the book. But around the
And that
film
looks
as
to be
well.
hardcover.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice. Nice, yeah.
Yeah, no Jack Kirby collector should be without this.
Yeah, and I also put the copies of my notes in it as an extra.
Oh,
Can you see
nice. Yeah. It
can-
blues
so-
out every once in a while. But
Is that okay? Did it?
there we go. Yeah, the light was just the
Yeah.
camera was trying to adjust to it.
Yeah. So, and I also, I mean, you've got to do this. I also put my artwork. I took some of my artwork, and Jack gave me a critique on my artwork, and he said, "You see what I see," and that's about drawing like he said, you draw like I do, and it doesn't mean square fingers. It just means the storytelling aspect of it. And these are the
Gotcha.
pages. Those are the pages that I took to show him.
Very cool.
Can you see that?
Yeah. It's focusing. It's having a focus issue, but there it is. That's better.
So it's got everything in it. It's got a nice foreword by Randy Zimmerman. You know Randy.
I do.
And it's full of photographs of me with Jack. There's my work on his desk. That desk that produced everything. That's my work on there. And he's talking to me about it. And it's just a fantastic document, I think. And there's the Q&A. Look very, very posh, doesn't it? Look at that.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's I'm surprised more people didn't show up to the theater once the word got out that you were going to be there doing it.
40, there was a lot. So I was surprised one turned up, tell you the truth. But but yeah, even though I say it myself, it really is a nice book, and it is a hardback. It's only in hardback. There isn't a softback, and you get the DVD with it.
Oh, I see. You got the case for the DVD already printed up. So this material is done. It's printed and produced.
Yeah.
It's just ready to go.
Yeah. So there's only one sort of tier, as it were. There's no extras with the campaign. So what you buy is the book and the DVD. Now I have to say that the shipping's very expensive, but that I can't do anything about that. But it's a good read. Everybody's seen it. There's been some advanced copies gone out. Everybody's seen it. Is rating it and raving about it, and it's unique. Like you said at the beginning, you see films of him for 2 minutes at conventions, or even maybe 15 minutes at conventions. But there's all the other activity going on. But this is just me and him talking, and for 45, 50 minutes, and it's just all there.
Now, folks, I'm showing the campaign up here, and
Yep.
like Glenn said, there's one tier. That's it. It's
That's
$39 in the U.S. for a hardcover book and a DVD.
Yeah.
You're
The
going
book and the DVD.
and you're going to get all these photographs inside it here.
Yeah.
You talked about this meeting that you had, where while you were there, artwork was being returned to him. Artwork from Marvel.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What was coming in?
I went into the room, and Roz told me what this stuff was. It was just these manila envelopes, and there was scores of them. I won't say hundreds. There was piles of them. And she said, we just got these back from DC, some from DC, some from Marvel, some from other publishers. And she said, I said, oh, wow, there's loads of it. And I'm thinking, this guy, this room was full of this artwork. And I was thinking, this guy drew 40,000 pages, it's reckoned. And this little room is nearly full. So what would 40,000 pages, if he got them all back, be like? He did a new house, So anyway, so she says to me, Ross says to me, open one, have a look. And I said, really? Because Jack hadn't seen these pages since he put them in the envelope in 1961, whenever 65 or whenever it was. And I'm opening them because I wouldn't, if I mean me, I wouldn't have let anybody open them. I would have wanted to open them, but this is how generous these people were. So I picked up a envelope, just a random one. I opened it, and it had artwork from Kid Colt from 1962, I think it was in it. Then I opened another one. It had some Fantastic Four pages in. Then I opened another one. It had some New Gods pages in from DC. And it was just all this stuff, and I couldn't believe I was holding this stuff, these actual pages, and he hadn't seen them since he finished them, And they were letting me open them, but it was amazing. I wish I'd had enough money to buy it all, but
Yeah, don't we all?
I said to her, Ross, what are you doing with these? And she said, "Oh, I think we're going to get. Is it Mike Thibodeau? He's called Thibodeau or something. I can't remember how you say it. I think he was coming in to sort it out." And I said, "I'll do it for you." And I meant it. I said to her, "Look, if you give me a bed and feed me, I'll stay." And she said, "It'll take you 3 months." I said, "I'll stay for 6 months if you want." And I would have done, I really would. But she said no, and it was just all this work, all this artwork, everything. They showed me some Sky Masters artwork that they had on the walls in the studio. This beautiful strip work, from 1959, I think, 58, 59. It's just wonderful stuff. Just to see it, you'll know. You see original artwork, and it's just wonderful, isn't it? It's a different experience. It's just beautiful stuff. Whatever it is, it's just beautiful stuff.
Now you saw during this time you saw the Fantastic Four 100 cover, I believe.
Yeah, that's in the corridor. When you go from Jack's kitchen, you go down this corridor past bedrooms. I guess the doors were closed, and there's artwork on the corridor, and right facing you, just before you turn left into the studio, there was the cover from the Fantastic Four 100 on the wall, and I said, "Wow, fancy having that." And Ross said, "Yeah, we got that back, and somebody had ripped it in half." And you could see
before they sent it back. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, they received it ripped in half, so they had it professionally restored and framed and mounted. And on some of the reproductions of it, I can see the line. I know where the line is. It's not a secret. It's halfway down. You can see where some of the line work of the drawings doesn't quite touch where it would, and you can see this line across it. But yeah, somebody ripped it in half.
That's I guess Jack took better. Well, he sent it all in. He didn't really keep it around, but sounds like he respected his artwork more than a lot of the others did. I've heard tales of people would go in and somebody went in to interview Steve Ditko, and he's sitting at his desk, and he's got an X-Acto knife, and he's cutting something, out. Yeah. And what he's using as a backing board were original Spider-Man pages.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, but that's Steve Ditko's philosophy, isn't it? Was it nothing matters or something? Everything is just now, the moment. But I don't know. I always think that if you don't want that artwork, give it to charity. Do something with it. Unless you give it me, But
I'm a good charity. I'm charity begins at home.
Yeah, that's right.
But they used to just bundle up the stuff and throw it out on the back step, throw it out in the bins.
Yeah,
because it's printed now, it's done. We'll just use the master for reprints if we have to.
Well, that's where the problem came from, where the copyrights came from, wasn't it? That that particular artwork hadn't been thrown away. Jack just wanted his drawings back, but Marvel were worried about the copyrights.
Yeah, because so how does that impact copyright then if the original artwork remains rather than destroyed?
Well, that's the problem with that situation, as I understand it. That because the copyright law is something. It was, I think the copyright law was laid down in like 1899 or something. It's not been reviewed. It's just a quagmire and a minefield, and nobody will go in it because the first. I might be wrong about this, but it's something like this. The copyright. They only have the copyright to the first printing. They don't own the artwork. They only own the first printing rights.
Okay.
So that means that if you draw a character, as I understand it, and I might be wrong, if you draw a character and a publisher publishes it, they own the copyrights to that first printing, but you own the character because it's come from your head. And Marvel and DC, I think, were scared that Jack would walk to a solicitor or a lawyer, attorney, as you would call it, and demand that he owns the copyrights, which are worth billions, aren't they now? Literally billions. But they couldn't give him his artwork back because he might press for copyright, but they couldn't destroy the artwork because they didn't own it, because it was the art. It's just it's just a loop. It needs sorting out.
Yeah, it seriously does. And I understand.
I'm
I understand
not an
copyright
expert.
a little
I'm
bit.
not an expert. Yeah, I'm not an expert.
No,
But it just
me
seems
neither. I mean, we print stories in our anthologies, and it's very clear. We bought the first serial rights, and as soon as the book is printed, the author owns the rights again. I'm like, you can take it back. We've got a guy he's like, I'm expanding this into a novel. Is that a problem? I'm like, nope, it's yours. Do what you want.
Well, didn't Alan Moore have a problem? That's what his problem was with Watchmen. I think again, the story was that when it wasn't being published, printed, the rights would go to him and Dave Gibbons.
Yeah.
But because it was so popular, DC just keep it in publication. And
they've never let it go out.
Yeah, so Alan's disillusioned with that, and he's not in comics now, as you know, and which is a shame. And so DC aren't breaking any laws.
No, they abided by the contract. The contract was just, they said we will keep this in print, and in DC's defense, people keep buying it. It's not like
that's right. But if they hadn't bought it, they'd have given them back. So
yeah, and Alan could have been saying, "Hey, Watchmen is now being printed under my imprint."
Yeah.
Really surprised and saddened. I know he's been disillusioned with comics because he's been screwed sideways every single time he does something because he always strikes a chord in the audience where they're like, "This is." Every Alan Moore is something you've never read before. And you always feel like you're reading it for the first time. But I would think that with today's environment of indie publishing and the crowdfunding, especially, that'd be something where if he just decided, I have a comic story and I'm going to tell it and I'm not going to give it to any corporation, I'm just going to do it. Yeah. And this is how I'm going to do it. He'd break the system.
I think he obviously he's either got enough money or he's not interested in money, because I would have thought, he could make a fortune, but he chooses not to, and we respect that. So
yeah, I think the story that sums him up best for me is somebody asked him once about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the movie, which was atrocious, really. And they're like, how did you feel about it? And he's like, well, how should I feel about it? Somebody came to me and said, we want to make a movie that happens to have the same title as one of your books, and here's a pile of money.
Yeah. But apparently he didn't take any money for Watchmen, did he?
I don't know.
I don't think he did. He hadn't even watched it. I think he had the money given to Dave Gibbons. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not an expert.
Yeah. Well, the track record of everything else that had been converted was horrible. Watchmen was probably the closest that they've ever come to getting an Alan Moore book correct in a screen adaptation.
I think it's the closest in any book, if you ask me. Yeah. I loved it. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's brilliant because it is like the graphic novel, which is one of the best things ever done.
Yeah, they changed some of the plot of it, especially Adrian's plot. That was something totally different this time. But other than that, it was a screen to book to screen, page per page thing.
Well, this is what I always say about Kirby's work or the Fantastic Four and stuff like that, because they should just take what he did and use. I know they have to adapt it slightly and things, but just use the stories. Like the Galactus thing. How can you have such a character as Galactus who literally pulls all the energy out of planets, and at the end of the film he's a cloud, isn't he?
Yes.
I mean, what's that? I don't get it. I don't get it. The changes they make, they're beyond me. I don't get it.
Hopefully, and I haven't followed the copyright on things for a long time now, but hopefully the Kirby estate is doing well with the Avengers films, since he was a creator on that.
I've got no idea of any settlement, but I do believe it was quite a considerable amount of money, and they settled out of court, didn't they? So I don't know. I'm not privy to any of that, but I hope they got some money out of it. Yeah, but they changed all the costumes and everything, didn't they, as part of all that? And,
Well, yeah, that's they did, but it's still the same character based on. But they're doing the same thing, I guess, with Superman for the Siegel and Schuster deals. You know, it's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
well, we have a Superman now, but it's not the same Superman. Therefore, we don't owe you any royalties.
Yeah.
How long are you? The campaign here for the book and the DVD. This is wrapped up, but it's in demand right now.
Yeah.
How long are you looking to keep it open that way?
Well, it depends if people keep. I think it has to be. You have to have a certain amount of orders within 6 months. But I'll keep it open. I mean, I can give you an email now if people want to come to me for it, direct to me. Just drop me a line. Either drop me a line on Facebook, find me on Facebook, and send me a message, or you could email me at comicsunlimitedmagazine@gmail.com. That's a magazine I put out about comics. That's the email, comicsunlimitedmagazine@gmail.com. And if you send me an email, that's it. We can sort out what we can do to get it to you. And there is a special gift I'm giving away in it, but I'm not saying what it is. But there's a special gift in it with the orders as well. So
Very cool. So a surprise stretch goal, so to speak.
So to speak, yeah.
So you'll be shipping in May, that's next month. That's right around the corner.
Yeah, hopefully in there, yeah, because the money has to clear, and then I can get the bulk printing done, and then I can get it off. I've got the DVDs. I just need to know exactly how many I'm going to print. For now, I'll obviously get some over, but I don't want to go and print 2,000 at the moment. You know, I just want to print. I mean, if I get 2,000 orders, I will do. But
oh, absolutely, yeah.
I'll just get a set amount.
So the thing I want to impress on the audience is that, you know, the thing's done. It's a fait accompli. So there's no waiting.
No,
really, once you pledge, it's
the only thing I'm waiting for is, like I said, the money to clear, and then getting the orders in, getting the books in, and then they're straight out. I've got my, those Gemini mailer things. I've got all that. Everything's done. I just need the money in, and then I can get them out.
Did you ever have any communication with Kirby or his family after that second visit? I mean, I know you only had the 2 visits, but
no. Jack died a couple of years later. I sent Roz a letter, but I didn't get a reply. And I'm not the kind of person who goes around bugging people, you know. So no. The only other touch in the Kirby family would be later about the film. When I offered it to them, they didn't want it. So, and then I spoke to their lawyer. They wanted to know what was in it. So I said, look, I'll send it to you right now, but there's nothing in it that will cause any problem, because that was right in the middle of the talks. And as I said to him, and you know, obviously the Kirby, you don't know me, you know, the guy doesn't know me, and the Kirbys don't know me. I said, but I'm a big fan of Jack Kirby. I'm not here to bring him down, and I'm a fan of Stan Lee. I'm not here to bring anybody down. It's not about that. It's just my visit to him. That's why it's called a personal journey, because it's my journey to him. See, I consider the film more about me than him, but that's not why people won't. Well, there's like an interview with me, but people won't be bothered with that. They want to see the footage, but it is about my journey to him, you know.
So anybody looking to this for like, oh, let's hear what he says about Stan, because everyone thinks, you know, that they really didn't get along. You're not going to get that here.
You're not going to get it, and I haven't even cut that out because we didn't talk about it. Because, like I said, I'm not the person who's going to bug somebody. I'm not going to walk into this man's house, have him feed me, and be a guest in his house and start asking questions like that. I wasn't really interested anyway, because that's his personal business. That's nothing to do with me. It doesn't impact my issues of the Fantastic Four. It doesn't impact my meeting him. It doesn't have anything to do with me whatsoever, and none of that is in there. I'll tell people now. There's nothing in there about anything about that.
Did he talk about any of his time in the military?
Yeah, it tells a great story about a minefield. I won't tell you what he says, but it's really funny, and just stuff he got up to. And then he was things like you can see he's a tough guy, and yeah. I just imagine these Germans when people like him, when they were facing people like him, must have thought, what I mean, I can't believe the Germans weren't tough guys as well, but some of the things he was talking about, things like he has a obvious disdain for Waffen SS, who were quite brutal. If other soldiers aren't, if shooting somebody isn't brutal enough, these guys were apparently very brutal. And he said that they'd fire when they had their tanks. They'd fire at someone. They wouldn't just sort of generalize, and they'd fire the shell at someone. And he said that he was talking to a captain, and one of these tanks came around the corner and fired at them, and the captain disappeared, and he was blown into the next room. You know, stuff like that.
Wow. That's that's a close call. I mean, that's
well, it could have been him, couldn't it?
Yeah.
If the gunner probably knew he was a captain. I don't know these things. But he just fired it. He just did this. It hit the shell, hit him. It just he just blew up, and it blew the wall down, and he ended up in the next room. You can't imagine it, can you?
That was such an enviable experience you've had here, Glenn. To just sit for such length and to share these personal stories.
That's right.
Not about what were you thinking when you created Fantastic Four, or
No.
how did you adapt them? How did you adapt them from or to, I forget the order of events, the challenges of the unknown between DC and Marvel, but these things like hey, when you were in the army, when you met Roz.
What I did was I decided before I even got there that I wasn't going to interview him. I wasn't going to interview him because I knew that he liked to talk. I knew he had a lot of stories, so I just let him talk. I mean, I talk to him. You see and hear me on the film, but basically it's him talking, because I didn't want to interview him. I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say, "Oh, how long did it take you to draw this?" And that wasn't my interest. That's interesting, but that wasn't my interest in the point of going. I just wanted to capture him, and I believe I've captured Jack Kirby the man, not Jack Kirby the comics artist, which is far more interesting because we know what he did, we can see what he did, but now we can see what he was like, and what Roz was like, and because Roz was the most amazing woman, the beautiful woman. And I tell you, as tough as Jack was, I bet she was tougher. You'd have to go through her to get to him. But she wasn't. She wasn't crazy or anything. She was just this wonderful lady. But you could just tell that underneath, she was a strong, strong person.
Yeah. Was he still drawing when you visit him? I mean, did he have any current projects out?
No, he just finished a Demon cover for DC. But other than that, no, I don't think he was doing a right lot. I think he was retired by then. But I don't want to put over the impression that Roz was a real hardened woman. She wasn't. She was a very nice woman. I'm just saying that she you could tell that underneath. I'll tell you something. When I went the first time, and you can see that my work on his desk there, Jack went over it and he gave me some pointers on various things, and it was great. And he said, "You see what I see," and all this kind of thing. And then Roz had a look at it, and there's a photograph of me sitting next to her while she's looking at it, and that was more terrifying than Jack looking at it. Was having her look at it, what I mean? But she liked it and everything, so that was good.
Yeah, I turned my camera off for a second here because I did recently get some new or some restored Jack Kirby artwork on this cover for Alter Ego, the book that Roy Thomas put together. Yeah. And they did a Jack Kirby special issue. Yeah,
I've seen that before. It's great. Is it Joe Sinnott ink that?
Yeah. It's Joe. It's his signature underneath Jack's there.
Yeah.
But just sharing that, I thought it was because it's Jack and the Thing, Ben Grimm, and I think of all the characters that are out there.
Well, when you hear Jack's voice, that's how the Thing talks, because he's from Yancey Street on the Lower East Side and all that kind of thing. The Thing, if you look at Kirby's drawings, if you look at Reed Richards, he has Kirby's hairline, all that lovely hair that he had. And if you look at his characters, I think he does what most artists does. He draws himself. He just draws himself. But the Thing, not that he looks rocky like that, but the Thing is, I think, is his most personal character. And I imagine it's a shame Jack's not here. He could have voiced, he could have voiced the Thing, couldn't he? That would have been great, wouldn't it?
That would have been great. We'd have had a good Fantastic Four movie, maybe. Well, I don't know. He was here for the first few, and they didn't come out that well, so maybe not.
I think he would have really liked the elevator scene with Cap, Shield, when there's 10 of them in the lift and he beats them all up, and then the guy shouts, "There's nowhere to go," and he jumps through the plate glass window and falls into the station or whatever it is. That's pure Kirby, because when he's coming down like that, that with it holding his shield and he's coming down with his hands and legs out, that's pure Kirby. I think he would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was a good translation for that scene. Yeah. Glenn, is there anything else you want to share about the book, the project, how it came about?
No, other than, like I said before, I just I issued the film to mark the 100th anniversary, what would have been the 100th anniversary. But this is twice as good because there's twice as much on it now. There's a lot more on it, and when with the book as well, I'm really proud of it. I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased with the response. I have to say that I thought the response would have been greater, but that's probably my fault for not advertising it enough. But the response has been great, and the people who've seen it, like I said, with the advanced copies and things, they're raving about it. They think it's great. They're all pushing it for me. So,
is there a way for retailers to? I suppose retailers can use the email address for bulk orders.
Yes, and I'm also looking into sorting that side of it out, because I'm trying to get into Forbidden Planet over here, and then hopefully I'll get into the United States as well, because there's a lot of people there I think would be very interested in this. So that's where I am now, but I wanted to get it out quick.
Yeah, this belongs in LCS stores around the world. As a set. I mean, the book and DVD together. You don't want to separate them. They belong together. All right, Glenn. With that, I just want to thank you for coming on the show tonight and sharing this with us. This is, again, I wish I could go back in time and be you for that day, but then that would rob you of that experience.
Listen, I wish I could be me and go back in time as well and do it again. Yeah, because I tell you what I would have done this time. I decided only to take one cassette with me to film, because I'm not that kind of a person. You see, I didn't want to be. I would have found it embarrassing to stand there and say, "Hang on a minute," while I just changed the cassette. But you know what? If I could change it, I'd have taken 6.
Yeah, just tape the whole thing.
But I didn't because I'm just not pushy like that. I was just grateful that he let me into his house twice.
Yeah. And again, I can't imagine somebody writing me said, "Hey, I really like this book you did. Can I come over?" I'm like, I don't know.
And feed me and talk to me all afternoon.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming on. Folks in the chat, appreciate you all being here. We don't have a show if you're not here to watch it. We're definitely grateful that you're here. Yeah. And as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good afternoon, everybody.
See ya.